it is very much relevant to Mumbai in terms of the number of passengers, etc. So it is necessary to strengthen it, and for that we require more number of buses. Actually, my own assessment which I had given in the meeting was about 7 to 8,000 buses are very much required immediately, so that the load factor can increase. At the same time, the number of routes can also be rationalized. That is separate entity, but at the same time, the headway can come down. The frequency and it can increase. Because right now there are certain routes which are, when I joined, I remember there were certain routes where the load factor was only 10%, 18%. So that we have already actually diverted, cancelled or curtailed. Three things we did: either diverted, cancelled or curtailed, and ensure that this minimalistic transportation is phased out. It's a point of inflection where the steps that we are going to take in the next 2 years will determine how robust the public transport will be in Mumbai.
Hello and welcome. So, is Mumbai's BST bus service shutting down? Of late, there have been media reports that this lifeline of Mumbai is on the verge of closure. On the one hand, you have commuters who are angry and frustrated. They say that they have to wait in long queues for 45 minutes before their bus arrives. On the other, you have a government, both the bureaucracy and the politicians, who have allowed this service to go to seed. And joining me now is BST General Manager SVR Srinivas. Welcome to the show, sir. Let's first begin with the commuters' woes. I'm sure you're aware of them. The frequency of buses has dropped to nearly 45 minutes. What do you propose to do about it?
BST as a legacy, it is an identity of Mumbai. And secondly, being the fact that, as we just mentioned, BST being the lifeline in a way, because it has many functionalities which we can discuss later on, but it is very much relevant to Mumbai in terms of the number of passengers, etc. So it is necessary to strengthen it, and for that we require more number of buses. Actually, my own assessment which I had given in the meeting was about 7 to 8,000 buses are very much required immediately, so that the load factor can increase. At the same time, the number of routes can also be rationalized. That is separate entity, but at the same time, the headway can come down. The frequency and it can increase. So that's what the discussion is going on with BMC. Hopefully very soon it will come out with a solution. So people will just take 2-wheelers, 3-wheelers, etc. So that is why we are requesting the BMC actually, and this was discussed in the meeting of the Chief Minister, where he directed the BMC to come out with a turnaround package. The phrase is your turnaround package. So we are writing to BMC also on that, and soon I think there should be some solution to this.
I'm told that Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis has asked BMC Commissioner to allocate 3% of the BMC budget towards BST every year. Can you throw some light on this?
Whenever budget is passed annually or revised in the supplementary budget, there is discussion in the sense that how much to give, and there are no guidelines. So the discussion was that why don't we put a minimum of not 3%, minimum 3% of the budget for the public transport, for the BST, for the city buses. So that has been minutized. So based on that, we are writing to, I'm writing, recently minutes have been received, I'm writing to DMC also on this. So that there is a guarantee, see, that gives a predictability to plan our capex and opex. Right now, there is no predictability. For example, the year 2025, in 27, what is the likely budget you are going to get? It is not at all clear. It is very hazy. But once the percentage thing kicks in, I'm sure there will be a predictability, and it becomes better planning of operations as well as capex. That will be very useful to the public at large too. Okay. I think that's a very good move.
So what is the BMC saying on this? I'm told they've already sent you a letter saying that we are not interested, we don't have funds.
No, they have written to many times, not before, earlier also, when I was AMC also. That is a long drawn conversation. The conversation is still continuing, but in the light of the meeting of Honorable Chief Minister, I'm sure there will be some positive development for sure.
So you've recently taken over as General Manager of the BST, and you've always been an infra man. What vision do you have for the BST? How do you propose to bring it back on track?
One is to ensure that there are about 8,000 buses in the next 2 years. That is what is important. And secondly, see, we are an international city. Mumbai is an international city. Globally, people are observing. So we can't have anything less than a robust public transport. So for that, one is procurement of buses. More important, my plan, second aspect of my plan is to basically route rationalization, rationalize the routes. Because right now there are certain routes which are, when I joined, I remember there were certain routes where the load factor was only 10%, 18%. So that we have already actually diverted, cancelled or curtailed. Three things we did: either diverted, cancelled or curtailed, and ensure that this minimalistic transportation is phased out, and we have redeployed the buses to other places. Okay, just now I was reviewing with my officials just now before you came. So that's what we are doing, route rationalization. And third, what we have done is, which we had a plan, which was done, and I am thankful to the Chief Minister for agreeing, and the Deputy Chief Minister as well. That is regarding the rate rationalization. See, the rates were not revised for about quite some time. So the rates were now, that time it was only 5 rupees for 5 kilometers, which is not even a cup of tea, right? So now it has been revised to 10 rupees. And further rationalization will also take place. But rate rationalization is one thing which will have our own sources of revenue, right? So that is also kicked in, which is a permanent source, right? So that will, I'm expecting, that should give about 5 to 600 crores annually to the BST. Okay. And last is, but not the least, is the assets of the BST should be monetized in public interest. So this is broadly the roadmap that I have.
So when you say assets should be monetized, you're talking about the passenger depots.
Yeah. So there are assets, meaning we have fixed assets like lands, prime lands, like depots, for example, and bus stands, where it's not being utilized fully, right? In some places, hardly it is 1/4 is utilized. But by monetizing them, you get income. You get the fixed income, then I am sure that can be utilized for better, for capex and expansions and etc. So that is one. Of course, this has to be done very carefully in very transparent manner. And Best had a long history of doing it, but not of late, of course, for a long time back. For that, we have appointed IFC, International Finance Corporation, which is the agency of the World Bank, to be the transaction advisor. So we are working together with them very closely.
You went in for a fare hike recently, and now you're talking about rationalizing the fares further. What exactly do you have in mind?
So basically calibration of the rates depending on the dynamic situation that is evolving. Like right now, for example, we said now 5 rupees is 1 kilometer. 5 rupees is for 5 kilometers, right? Now that became now 10 rupees for 5 kilometers. Instead of 5, I am also examining today, only I was discussing, can we have another scale, another slab, for instance, up to 3 kilometers. We can have another slab and we can reduce it. We can reduce it. It need not be 10 rupees. It can be even less than that. It can be 8 rupees, 6 rupees, like that. So it is like that. So different slabs also dynamically we should be able to come out with the rates. That is the idea, not increasing the rates.
And if you can just give us some idea how it's going to be done. Like,
see, we generally do once in a year or once in 3-4 years. They do the fare revision. Fare revision is generally done upward because of cost of petrol, diesel, and all that goes up, and cost of establishment goes up. So it is increased. But it is quite possible that this need not happen like this. It is possible that we can reduce the rates. How, for instance, I'll give an example, which I had given earlier, but a little more elaborate. I'll have to elaborate on that. Thank you for asking this. Let's say what we have observed is a lot of passengers in Mumbai are short distance passengers. So they go for 2-3 kilometers. But still, now in the revised dispensation, even the earlier dispensation, they have to pay the same as the passenger who is going up to 5 kilometers. The 5 kilometer person is to pay 5 rupees, and even the 2 kilometer person is to pay 5 rupees. Now it is made 10 rupees. 5 kilometer commuter pays 10 rupees. Then 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer per commuter also pays 10 rupees. Right? Instead, can we come out with new slabs whereby, for instance, a person is going for 2 kilometers. So he need not pay 10 rupees. He can pay only 7 rupees. Right? And that can be done dynamically over a period of time instead of just waiting for something to happen, or we just do it every periodically. We can make dynamically.
And what has prompted you to do this?
That is because, you see, what I thought was, I compared with auto rickshaws. See, auto rickshaws have typically in suburbs of 3 passengers. So our rate can be ideally competitive with auto rickshaws. And people don't go auto rickshaws, but there is shared rickshaw. People shared with so generally one or two passengers are no longer there. There are three passengers are there. So if the 3 passengers are going, so it should be our rate should be such that it is less than what is the auto rickshaw divided by 3. That should be the formula. That's what I am thinking about. That's what is under discussion, and that's what rationalization, rate rationalization will entail.
Sir, can you tell us what is the status of BST today? I mean, what ails the BST?
BST stands at crossroads. I can say that it is very. It's a point of inflection where the steps that we are going to take in the next 2 years will determine how robust the public transport will do in Mumbai. And why I tell you this, why at this point of time than ever before, is that not because of the situation in BST. BST, of course, situation is given. We know that financial, there are huge issues, there are staffing issues. That is one thing. But more important is the various modes of transport, public transport, are getting active. Like I remember when I was in MMRDA, we could complete line 7, line 2, about 75 kilometers of the lines were opened. Now line 3 is coming up, right? And also the other various infrastructure projects like, Atal Setu, Coastal Road, all these are, coming to a closure. They have already been opened up, right? And new metro lines are also going to come up. So basically it's very important at this stage to do some capex or through wet lease to procure buses and ensure that these buses are ready for these other transport when they come to closure, when they open up to public, so that these buses can act as feeder services. For right now, we know that feeder service has to be done, but buses are not in adequate number. I have to basically divert from one to another, right? So that's what I meant.
So wet leasing has not worked. I mean, that's one of the main reasons why the quality of services decline. I mean, contractors are not interested in giving us a service.
So it's like this. See, there is no ideal situation. Right now, we're in a situation where there is no money, right? So there is a shortage of funds. And if you want to take, there are two ways of expanding the fleet. One is wet lease, otherwise just to have your own capex and expand it and buy it. But let us talk about the second option first. Ideally, one can always do that, but provided you have the sufficient money, right? Upfront payments are involved, right? And there also they have to manufacture the buses. We don't manufacture the buses. Various companies are there; they only manufacture, right? And if we are going for CNG or battery operated buses, again the similar manufacturers are there. But coming to wet lease, the advantage in wet lease, of course, is well known, which is that there is no upfront capex. But there are issues, as you rightly said, regarding the supply. And there is the issue of the train drivers. So that is a big problem in Mumbai about train drivers, because the cost of living is so high, it's difficult to get the train drivers so immediately. But however, we also started a driving training program. Actually, in the last 2 months, in fact, I myself have visited once. So the training is going on very well. And we are trying to actually bring some, in fact, recently we brought one proto also of the battery operated buses, because this is a little new for the existing drivers. So the training is also going on. But as far as supplies the buses are concerned, we are trying to get as early as possible. I remember in the last 2 months at least, we got some 2-3 months, we got about 200 buses. Okay. But the number is much larger, of course. So we are pursuing with the different agencies to ensure that the buses come. But ultimately, we should rely the manufacturers of the same people, right? So here the advantage is only that we have upfront capex is not there.
Okay. So can you, sir, assure the commuters, what would you say to the commuters of Bombay? I mean, they are very frustrated, very angry, waiting in long queues for 45 minutes. Give them some assurance. What would you like to say to them?
Through your channel, I would like to assure our customers, our commuters of Mumbai, that the days of long waiting are going to get over very shortly. And very soon we'll have new buses, number one, for two reasons. One is the buses supply is also increasing. More importantly, we are also rationalizing both the routes, the rates, and the personnel also. The personnel is very important because bus cannot run on its own as of now. So it requires drivers and conductors that we are redeploying. And with the technological, which is basically without any cost, direct cost, to BST with the technology, the apps that were given, Google Maps, etc. Example I gave. I am sure things will be hopefully much better than before.